Okay, we'll address the reshaping issue a little bit later. We'll do that right towards the end. It's not going to be a problem. What I want to do now is I want to develop a flat building platform to shape into this sloping block of land. And from that flat building platform, I'm going to develop some embankments. In this particular case, for this example, in both the fill side of the embankments and also the cut into the side of the embankments, I'm going to go for a slope of 1:1, 45 degrees. But you could set that at any individual slope for both instances of cut and fill and make them different. So just for this case, I'm going to go 1:1. Now, first of all, I want to define where the building platform is going to be. The reference plane is a bit of an issue. Just have a look and see if I start drawing any sort of geometry. As I hover over the model, you can see how it automatically snaps to the reference plane of the face that I'm hovering over. Now sometimes you don't want that to change, and this is an example where you don't want it to change. If I hover back outside so that the standard reference plane is selected, if I press the F5 key, now when I hover over faces like I'm doing now, the reference plane has been locked to where it was when you pressed the F5 key, and that's what I want to happen at the moment. Actually, I don't want that to happen just now, sorry. I'll just press the F5 key again to release that, so you can see how I'm hovering over. What I actually want to do is establish a new reference plane and then lock that one. This new reference plane, I'll start with this bottom reference plane down the bottom here to start with, but then I'll come across to this point through here, down the bottom title bar called Edit Reference Plane, and I'll edit that reference plane, which opens up a set of axes that I can move and rotate with. If I click on the vertical blue line and then move that whole thing straight up the page till it's a reference plane that's on top of my site, and click up there, and then click Pick and Pick Out, I've now established a reference plane which is above my topography. So I'm going to be able to draw a little bit better onto it. Just don't know what this is. Okay, right. Okay, so I've got this reference plane up above my topography now. Now I want to go back to watch how I try and draw shapes. My reference plane changes as I hover over shapes, but if I hover outside, there's my last reference plane that had no assignment to any particular face. Now if I press my F5 key, if I hover over faces now, this reference plane has been locked in place, so that's the reference plane that I will use no matter what I do. So while that reference plane is locked, I'll go to a top view, so I'm looking straight down on my site, so I can start looking in plan view to plan where my building platform is going to be in a site plan view. Now what I'll do is, so that I don't, as I start to draw this shape that I want to be my site platform, so that I don't snap to any points while I'm doing this, come down to the bottom near all of your object snaps and press the I call it the Ghostbusters sign, so that you won't snap to anything, and it'll allow you to sort of free-form pick a point where you'd like your boundary to be. Let's say I want it to look something like that. If I orbit back, you can see now that I've been able to draw on a plane floating above my topography. Okay, so I could set my reference plane back to standard again, and also I can go F5 again to unlock my reference plane to be used on any surface. Now, I'm going to do a reshape to this surface here, and I'm going to reshape it up by 6 meters. So I've got a 6 meter high block. You'll see why I want to use that in a second. Also, I think I might pick it and make a copy of it. So I'll transform, move that. Use the second option over here in the options so that you make a copy of it. We want to go perpendicular to the reference plane, and just make a copy of that so it floats in exactly the right plane position but perfectly above. Let's see if I go to a top view, they're perfectly on top of each other. Okay. Now let's work with the bottom one first, and with the bottom one we'll create the top surface of this rectangular prism will be our building platform, but we want to slope the embankments now. So to slope the embankments, I think I might try using the taper command. And if I click on there, I know this was a 6 metre high prism, so for me to get a slope of 1 in 1, for every one I go horizontal, I go 1 vertical, I also need to offset the sides by 6 metres. So if I offset the sides by 6 metres in both directions, if I look at right hand side view, because it was 6 metres high and I offset the sides by 6 metres, I've got 45 degree angles, or 1 in 1 batters. Okay, so if I now transform move that object perpendicular to the reference plane, my reference plane for some reason has changed here. That's because I went to a right hand side view, so I'll click back to the top reference plane. This should enable me. I might escape out of that and do that again. So I'll go transform a reference plane, right, perpendicular to the reference plane. Oh no, I don't want to copy, so I'll change back to the first option. So I can now click and drag that object down into my topography until it starts to take shape of the embankment shape that I want to use. So say I wanted to do something, and you can see you can change the height. You can see how you can change the height and get an idea of how much fill you're going to have to move into this site to create those slopes. So if I go to some sort of point like that, that looks like a reasonable sort of arrangement. Click there. I've got that embankment being made. Now, I think what I was going to do here now is I was going to use some of the modify tools to create some boundary, to create some splits. I might actually union them together. I might pick that object and union that into it. So that's one object there now. But I want to actually delete some of these. I could have actually done that first before I did that. Let's see how this goes now. If I just do a reshape this bottom edge here and reshape that upwards, you can see how I can start to get rid of the superfluous parts of the embankment. Just reshape that right up to there, and that's got rid of that embankment. I'm left with this one solid now. I got a little bit of, it's mucked up this little corner a little bit, but that's okay. I can live with that. I can maybe even edit that a little bit later. So I've got this surface here with this embankment. I'll get rid of these ghosted objects later when I'm finished. I'm almost finished this entire site now. So I'm just going to go back to taper. Just going to go back to taper this object here now. Now this time I'm going to taper from the top, and once again I'll do a taper of 6 because I want a 1 in 1 slope. So I've tapered the top out by a 1 in 1 slope, like that. So I go to pick tool. I might try and tidy up these faceted faces here on this surface. That should be a plane of face there. So I'll hover over that line, press my tab key until I select just the line and delete it. Just to tidy up that. I feel it'll be a bit tidier geometry if I do delete these. Okay, tab that one. Oops. Hover over, tab that one. Hover over that one, tab that one. Okay, so that's tidied it up, and maybe even the top surface also, and tab that. Okay, so I should now be able to transform move that object perpendicular reference plane. Might try, and this Ghostbusters sign for error snaps, so I think I'll turn that back off now so I can actually snap from that point, and take that point down to carefully down to its mating point down here. Okay, so I've got these two different solids. Now what I'm going to do with this one, so I've got this 1-in-1 slope, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify difference. I'm going to select the base terrain as the starting object to take the difference of, and select that pyramid as the thing I want to take out of. So I've subtracted the difference. I've subtracted one solid from the other solid. Okay, so we're starting to get there now. If I just finish this off using my reshape tool at the bottom, because I don't need that much of a volume for my model, something more like that, more volume, and I think I'm getting there now. I've got a whole lot of ghosted entities that I probably don't need any longer, so I'll probably, over in my objects, anything that's ghosted, I think I'll just right click and delete. Okay, any of the ghosted entities, okay, whoops. Okay, you can hold down, you can control or command in Mac. You can right click and delete multiples at once if they're grouped in together. It looks like I've deleted everything there now, so I'm left with a fairly clean terrain model that has a flat platform built onto it, and it has a fill batter at a controlled slope of 1-in-1 or 45 degrees, and it has a cut batter at a controlled slope of 1-in-1 or 45 degrees. So then we could then change probably to a different view, so we can get some different appreciations and apply materials, of course, however you wanted to display that. Okay, so that's the terrain exercise, a little bit of a different twist on it than working straight with contours, working with some triangulated dimensions. I'll stop the video there now.